But
That's
but
how
you
I
can't
view
just
it.
offer something different for the sake of offering something different. Hey, here's an
No, it's
alternative,
just, well, he was open
and
up
it.
space to people that had a different points of views, and
But I remember very clearly this one episode, and I even got into like a text war, quote unquote, with a mutual friend of ours who I'm not going to name. But there was this one lady who was a doctor, right?
the
And
one
she
that
was a
should be named.
and
It
she
shouldn't be
came
named.
into oh, we found a cure, and it was and people don't not talking about this, and people should know. And then she posted on her Instagram, hey, check out this lady because she knows she found the cure. Oh, there's like forces at play that don't want you to. They want you to stay home. They don't want you to. They want the economy to tank, to pass more this, that, and that. They start mixing a bunch of concepts.
Yeah,
But the reality is, we were in the middle of a pandemic, and we were like, people. This is. It was a serious disease. It's a disease to be taken seriously. A
yeah,
lot of
of
people
course.
died. Even like the
Yeah.
naysayers, a lot of people died. That like, oh, this is not a big deal, and then they end up dying, sadly. But in this situation, I didn't tell her, hey, take this off because this is fake news. No, I told her, hey, why don't you also share the rest of what she usually says? Because this turns out she was kind of like this person who performed exorcisms and did a little
Right,
bit of
right.
esoterical stuff on the side.
Right. No, I understand your
And like,
point, but
okay,
that's
like
not the
give
case
give
though.
the whole context. No,
Right.
because this is one form. Like if she had tweeted this and it got censored or got like a little thing, like this would be an example of
Yeah.
freedom of communication.
Yeah.
And so people are going to take a lot of stuff at face value. They're not going to veto it. They're not going to filter it and put it, because most people, ourselves included, like we do zero research so far because we
Yeah.
haven't had the time
Everything
to
we
look
say here is our own personal opinion,
or
guys.
it's the
And
informed
we're not
opinion.
encouraging anybody to follow my opinion or whatever, this is just the way we see the world. And this is free speech.
Yeah, in a way.
This is free speech, honestly.
But you can see how most people don't
Interpretation and
have the time
yeah.
to go and like scrutinize, or now I gotta go major in statistics, now I go have to go specialize
No,
in
no,
this,
people are
whatever.
like they're worried about like bringing food to the table every day. They
Right,
they have to work to pay the bills. Like people are not going to become experts.
right.
It doesn't
So
mean you can't
you're
do your own research, but it's
But
different
what does
when
that
you
even mean? Like doing your own research can be very dangerous if you don't know the difference of of pseudoscience from real science. Then you did your own research, you saw all this propaganda that served a certain topic or a
yeah.
certain way of thinking, and all of a sudden you're into it because it kind of made sense. It wasn't scrutinized, and you didn't see the scrutinization of these arguments by people who are, actually able to analyze data or read through the things. Because, and I think this is an important point to make, like a lot of these, remember when we were like doing the thing with the back and forth, okay, let's actually read the paper, let's read the and you sent me a huge website that had a link to a bunch of publications that weren't peer reviewed at the time. And okay, let's open one, like a random one, and like
Yeah.
either the size of the sample that we're testing was very small. It was like, okay, this is like an indication. What do you do when you have a small sample size but you have like quote unquote positive results? Oh, this is, it's not telling you you found something. It's telling you, okay, let's do more research in this direction. Let's see what happens when we open up the scope. And then you could, if you read one of those shorter ones that weren't too crazy, you could see that what it said versus how the science was communicated was two very different things, because there were already leaps of logic when you, because in the ivermectin situation, I remember this very clearly because I have friends who are researchers and scientists, like, yo, tell me, because you guys are level-headed, what's the deal? So in one of the situations, one of the studies specifically, and this means what it means, which is the scope of the study, it said that ivermectin was effective in stopping the virus from getting into the cell. What the media failed to mention is that you needed 5 times the dose that would be a normal dose for a person for that even to be effective. And the test was done in a petri dish.
I don't know what that is. What is
Petri dish is like where they cultivate cells and they do experiments,
Okay,
like in.
okay.
So this wasn't done in an actual person. This was an effect that was observed in a little lab glass with some human cells and some virus cells and some ivermectin cells. None of this other information, what I think is very relevant, made it onto TV. They said ivermectin might be a cure. That's such a huge
That
leap.
never came out on TV, bro.
Well, whatever, in whatever medium of communication. In this case, these doctors or that doctor, like,
Yeah.
so the dose was not practical. It would probably kill you. The one that was in used in, but it showed some positive results, and that is the nuance that is lacking in the conversation. And
Mhm.
so if you're going to open up the floodgates and just go from how we consume media, which is like titles, clickbaity titles, inflammatory titles, incendiary titles,
Yeah.
and say this information should flow freely, it's going to create a lot of problems. Now, you tell me, would you rather
Well,
live in
it
that
depends
world?
how the information is being.
But once you open the floodgates, then you can't expect the information to be a certain way. You have to like be realistic on how it's going to be, rather than how you wish it was.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I agree with that. Um,
This is just one example, which is not technically
but
anecdotal because it
still, I
was
don't, I don't, I
practical.
don't, I don't agree with the censoring of certain,
Well,
like, especially when it's coming from experts and people that the the credentials to.
do you think Dr. Oz is an expert?
I don't even know what that is,
There's a
Doctor Oz.
TV doctor, very, very famous, very, very influential.
Oh yeah, yeah, I heard
He got
about Doctor Oz.
sued
Yeah,
for using words that are not very scientific, selling his products.
yeah,
Miracle,
I'm not a,
miraculous,
I'm not aware.
amazing, outstanding. So,
Okay,
he is a respectable. He's in fact more respectable than most doctors that you're gonna know, because this is a famous TV doctor who's on. I'm not sure. Dr. Phil is on Oprah, right? And this Dr. Oz
Doctor Phil. Yeah,
is on some TV channel as well. You know.
yeah, I don't know. Well,
So who gets to decide? The reputation and
apparently
the.
the government gets to decide everything.
But
You
if
don't
it
think that's dangerous as well?
that is dangerous.
Yeah.
I would be a hypocrite if I didn't say it was dangerous. But what are the alternatives? You're damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Well,
If you
you gotta
censor,
prove your worth. You gotta prove that what you're.
aha.
What? Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying.
And how do
Like,
you prove your worth?
well, by showing the data, by explaining in a way that is understandable, by criteria, by analysis, by, like, we have tools to be able to explain something in in a good way, and there will be people, you know contesting that. It's like that information that is basically circulating and flowing, and it it's going to prove itself worth or not at certain point. It shouldn't be censored just because you think it could be dangerous, or because I don't know how to
But and what
explain that, man.
happens?
It's just like, how do you know? How do you know that what these doctors are saying are not is not relevant? How do you know that that couldn't actually save lives if you censor it? Like,
Well,
who is picking the information that is being shown to people? Like, I think I think ideas, even if they are wrong, they have to be able to circulate freely, so we will be able to tell if that's good or bad, if it's right or wrong. You know,
but how do the other ideas circulate amongst the experts? Like when
how
you
do you?
if you go for a cancer treatment, or if you go for a heart surgery,
Yeah,
like, were you worried that the information that your doctor was giving you was accurate because you heard it on a forum, like on a post, like somewhere in the wall?
it's
Like,
complicated.
how does that information compare to this information, which is also medical, which is also relevant to our health? It's like coming from totally two different worlds. Like, the doctors amongst themselves, they scrutinized in the case of the heart surgery, and they decided, there's a few practices I like. Some people have, because like there's more than one way to skin a cat. There's more than one way to go into somebody's heart, unclog an artery, whatever it is. But we're not so much worried about that type of information, regardless. So, and maybe this is something like, oh, not everybody has to go through heart surgery, so it's not everybody's problem.
Hmm.
But we're not questioning, oh, like, is this doctor aware of all the methods that there are? Like, it's kind of like amongst their community, they eventually reached uh sort of like, okay, agreed upon method right now, it's the best option with the best outcome for what they know in that moment. And things obviously change, and science is always evolving. So why would we assume that the information that's being pushed or shown by the majority of the scientific community requires a different voice. You know, it's missing something.